Why do families need their black sheep to survive? Short answer: because someone has to spot the leak, call the lie, and kick off the healing. You know that one relative who ruins dinner by telling the truth before dessert? The one branded dramatic, disloyal, too sensitive. Plot twist: they're not the problem. They're the early warning system. Families are like group chats with unspoken rules. Don't text about dad's drinking. Don't mention mom's rage. And for the love of God, use emojis. The black sheep breaks the unspoken contract, and that's exactly why families secretly need them. Mechanism 1: the immune system. If a family is a body, the black sheep is the fever. Fever isn't the disease, it's the signal. In Jungian terms, the outlier carries individuating energy, the part of the psyche that can't keep pretending. Highly sensitive nervous systems notice what others train themselves to ignore. The tense smile, the switched subject, the way the room goes quiet if anyone says, "last night." That sensitivity isn't fragility, it's accuracy. Like a carbon monoxide detector, it's loud on purpose. When the detector beeps, some folks fix the leak, others smash the detector. Guess which response is more popular at family reunions? But without that annoying sensitivity, dysfunction just rolls forward, handed down like antique furniture with a hidden termite colony. Translation: no black sheep, no interrupt signal. No interrupt signal, no change. Okay, if they're the detector, why do they get labeled the fire? Let's flip the script. Mechanism 2: the scapegoat. Families love neat stories. Everything was fine until Oz showed up. It's narratively convenient to make the truth teller the villain, because then the real issue never has to be addressed. That's classic shadow play. In Jung's language, the family projects what it can't own: anger, fear, addiction, betrayal, onto a designated target. The black sheep becomes the screen. Everyone else gets to keep watching the movie they prefer. Why projection? Because facing the actual wound requires system-wide change. Dad gets help. Mom stops enabling. Siblings stop cosplaying Switzerland. That's heavy. Much easier to say, "You're the reason we're upset," and exile the person. But here's the psychological bill that comes due. If you mistake the alarm for the fire, the house still burns. Quick reframe for black sheep watching this. When they call you divisive, it usually means you're pointing to a crack that was already running through the foundation. When they call you angry, it often means they've outsourced their anger to you. You're not inventing smoke, you're standing near it. So what happens when the scapegoat refuses the costume? Buckle up. The system does not clap politely. Mechanism 3: the destabilizer. Change one gear in a clock, and the whole mechanism clicks weird. Families run on homeostasis. Keep it the same, even if the same is slowly sinking. The moment the black sheep sets a boundary, "I won't pretend," or "I'll come when there's help in place," the organism panics. Cue the 3-act escalation. Act 1: guilt. After all we've done for you. Act 2: threat. If you don't come, you're out. Act 3: gaslighting. It wasn't that bad. You're remembering wrong. None of this proves you're wrong. It proves you're effective. Boundaries force the system to feel what the projection was hiding. That's destabilizing by design. And yes, it hurts. It feels like losing a role you trained for your whole life, because you are. But roles aren't identities. Jung would say, you're withdrawing your projection hooks, reclaiming your energy from the false self you performed to stay included. If you're in this phase, keep the boundary simple, repeatable, and boring. Don't litigate the past. State the condition for contact. You're not trying to win a debate. You're exiting a trance. If destabilizing is stage 3, what's stage 4? Spoiler: it's where the power lives. Mechanism 4: the pattern breaker. Here's the pivot that actually changes generations. Stop trying to fix the family. Start refusing to repeat it. That's the moment the black sheep graduates from rebel to architect. You switch from reacting to designing, mapping the pattern back 3 generations, noticing the loop, addiction arrow, denial arrow, scapegoat arrow, silence, then breaking one link at a time. Micro skills that look small and are gigantic, naming what you feel without apologizing for the weather in other people's heads, choosing truth over peace, translation, tension storage, sitting with discomfort instead of numbing with work, scrolling, or I'm fine, documenting your story, dates, events, impact, so that gaslighting meets receipts and future kids don't grow up in fog. Grief shows up here, big time. You mourn the fantasy family while building a real life. It's not cruelty, it's clarity. And just to answer the DMs in advance, no, you don't owe anyone a PowerPoint explaining your healing. You will never data visualize someone out of denial. Your new pattern is the explanation. You left the script, you built a new one. But why do people say your freedom helps the very folks who pushed you out? Here's the plot twist. Mechanism 5. The liberation effect. Humans learn by modeling. When the black sheep walks, thrives, and doesn't combust, the family's prophecy, leave and you'll be destroyed, loses its magic. That's developmental pressure from outside the system. Sisters who swore you were crazy start quietly asking questions. A brother checks himself into a group and whispers, "You were right." Even extended relatives start comparing the narrative to the evidence. The system may double down, but the spell is cracked. Your absence functions like a mirror the family can't put down forever. If they can live without the lie, maybe we can too. Jungian individuation isn't selfish. It's contagious. You didn't save them by staying. You gave them a map by leaving. This doesn't guarantee parental epiphanies or holiday reunions scored by violins. Some people will cling to the sinking couch. That's their path. Liberation is not an ultimatum. It's an invitation. Your job is to keep the door visible and your nervous system clean. So how do you turn this from theory to Tuesday? Let's put it in your hands. Practical playbook. Fast, sharp, actionable. 1. Run the pattern audit. 2 columns. What repeats and what it costs me. List behaviors, phrases, and rituals you absorbed. Keep the peace. Don't make them mad. Work solves feelings. Cost them in energy, time, relationships. If writing feels spicy, you're over the target. 2. Shrink the lie, grow the truth. Pick one micro lie you perform out of habit. I'm fine. It's not a big deal. Sure, I'll come. Replace with one honest sentence, not a TED talk. One sentence. Repeat daily until your nervous system stops flinching. 3. Boundary equals behavior. A boundary is not a paragraph. It's what you do when the paragraph is ignored. If the rule is no yelling, your action is call ends at yelling. Don't explain it twice. Execute it once. 4. Build your non-family family. Pick 3 people who treat your truth as real. Text them before after hard moments. Belonging regulates the body. Regulation makes clarity sustainable. 5. Document the real story. Private notes. Voice memos. Therapy letters never sent. You're not being dramatic. You're building a lighthouse for future you. And maybe for a kid who will grow up not wondering if they imagined it. 6. Practice hard why, soft tone, firm content, kind delivery. I love you. I won't pretend that didn't happen. Here's what I'll do next. Your tone isn't the problem. Their feelings aren't your evidence. 7. Stop arguing with the projection. If you weren't there to hear it, don't go chasing narratives. Let the story do what stories do. Let your life do what lives do. 8. Celebrate tiny non-repeats. You ended a call early. You said no, with your shoulders relaxed. You told the truth and took a walk instead of an apology tour. That's generational work disguised as Tuesday. Last lap. Why this matters beyond your family, and how to close the loop without becoming a motivational refrigerator magnet. Why this matters, and how to land it. When one person individuates, the system either evolves or exposes itself. Both outcomes are information. If they meet your boundaries with respect, great, you've got a learning system. If they meet your boundaries with punishment, you've got a closed system, and now you know how to feed yourself without it. Either way, you've stopped handing the past a pen to write your future. Jung's big idea lives here. Wholeness beats goodness. Good often means compliant with the family myth. Whole means integrated, shadow named, truth in daylight, choices aligned with reality. The black sheep isn't defective, they're drafted. Families need someone whose body refuses the lie, because that refusal is the only alarm loud enough to wake the house. So, if you've been wearing the horns they handed you, try this on. You're not the family's flaw. You're its frontier. Frontier work is lonely until it isn't. First you walk, then someone sees your footprints and follows. Call to action. No cringe. If this hit home, do two things. First, share it with the one friend who calls you after holidays and says, "Was it me?" Second, drop a comment with the phase you're in. Detector, scapegoat, destabilizer, pattern breaker, or liberation. So someone a little earlier on the path can find themselves and keep moving. If you want more Jung meets real-life deep dives with humor and zero fluff, subscribe. We do sharp tools, not vague vibes. And if no one's told you yet today, you're not broken, you're awake. That's not the family's downfall. It's their best chance.